If a woman can't respect your masculine presence, you're standing on emotional quicksand. You may not see it now, but you'll pay for it later quietly, slowly, deeply. Respect isn't some outdated demand from a male ego. It's a core human need, especially for a man who's trying to lead, provide, protect, and build a future. When we speak of masculine presence, we're not talking about control or dominance. We're talking about the calm, unwavering energy of a man who stands grounded in purpose, aligned with integrity, and anchored in emotional discipline. That kind of presence commands, trust it, inspires your woman, your family, even your community to believe in you. But if she mocks it, resists it, or constantly tries to tear it down, that's not love. That's erosion. And over time, even the strongest man will feel the cracks beneath his feet. Let's strip this down to the truth most men feel but rarely speak. For a man, respect cuts deeper than love. You can tell a man, "I love you," every day, but if you speak with sarcasm, dismiss his ideas, or belittle his efforts, your words mean nothing. Respect is oxygen. Without it, aman suffocatis. Slowly, silently, love without respect is like water without a cup. It spills everywhere, never held, never grounded. And yet, so many men remain in relationships where they're emotionally parched, where affection is offered in words but never in action. They stay because she says, "I love you," even while her tone, "Herr Gestures," her silence scream the opposite. Pay attention to the small things, not the grand gestures, but the everyday energy. How does she speak to you when she's upset? Does she cut you off when you're being vulnerable? Does she laugh at your dreams? Roll her eyes when you share ideas? These aren't harmless quirks. These are psychological alarms. They whisper, "I don't respect you," long before she ever says it out loud. The danger disrespect rarely begins as a punch to the gut. It starts as a paper cut, small jabs. You ignore. You let the sarcasm slide. You rationalize the constant criticism. You excuse the way she dismisses your boundaries, convincing yourself she didn't mean it like that. But over time, you get trained to tolerate the unacceptable, trained to question your instincts. You start asking yourself, am I just being too sensitive? You start to bend, shrink, filter. And this is how strong men become shells of themselves. Now, let me make this clear. A woman who truly respects you will move differently. She won't agree with everything, but her disagreement will be laced with grace, not contempt. She may not fully understand your vision, but she'll trust your ability to lead. And most of all, she'll never make you feel small for simply being who you are. But here's what most men never realize. If a woman cannot respect your masculine energy, it's not always about you. It's often because she's in conflict with her own feminine nature. See, if she hasn't healed her wounds with the masculine, be it her father, past lovers, or trauma, she'll project that pain onto you. You become the battlefield for her unresolved war. When you try to lead, she resists. When you try to protect, she accuses you of trying to control her. When you set a boundary, she calls you cold or distant. And brother, let me tell you, this isn't personal. It's generational. It's her inability to trust the masculine force, not your failure as a man. But unless she does the work to heal that, she will fight everything you're trying to build. You'll be laying bricks while she's tearing them down. And that's why I say, if she cannot give you respect, leave. Not to punish her, not to hurt her, but to protect your peace, your purpose, your power. Because if you stay, you'll spend your life trying to prove yourself to someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. You'll drain your energy trying to earn approval that should have been freely given. You'll leak purpose into arguments that lead nowhere. You'll pour yourself out to fill a cup with a hole in the bottom. You weren't designed to beg for honor. You were built to embody it. Your job is not to convince a woman to see your worth. Your job is to live in such a way that your worth is undeniable and to walk beside someone who recognizes it without you having to plead. But here's the hard truth. Too many men are stuck in emotional prisons. Their leadership is mocked. Their decisions are second-guessed. Their presence is tolerated, not celebrated. And they've adapted to this, not because it's right, but because no one ever told them they deserved more. So let me be the one who tells you now. A relationship without respect is a slow, spiritual death. It doesn't matter how beautiful she is. It doesn't matter how passionate the sex is. If you feel smaller every day, if your identity is being chipped away, one compromise at a time, that is not love. That is codependence wrapped in chemistry. And I know this kind of truth is hard to hear, because it forces you to look at the lies you've accepted. It forces you to confront the things you've allowed, the red flags you ignored, the boundary lines you erased just to keep the peace. But growth never comes wrapped in comfort. Growth demands clarity. Growth demands courage. Growth demands that you walk away from anything slowly killing your spirit. So hear me now, if she cannot respect the man you are and the man you are becoming, it's not your duty to stay and earn it. It's your duty to leave and find the kind of love that reflects your true value. Because any woman who cannot give you respect will eventually take your peace, and a man without peace cannot lead, he cannot love, and he cannot live fully. If you have to guard your emotions around her, if speaking your truth turns into ammunition used against you, you're not in love, you're performing. And performance isn't connection, it's survival in disguise. No matter how stoic, how disciplined, how tough you think you are, no man can perform forever without crumbling inside. A real relationship is supposed to be your exhale, your refuge, the place where you take the armor off, not put on more. If being with her requires you to constantly monitor your tone, suppress your needs, hide your fears, and filter your heart, what you have isn't intimacy. It's emotional claustrophobia. It's silent suffering inside a pretty box labeled love. And here's the tragic truth. Many men have been conditioned to believe that their emotions are dangerous, weak, or unwanted. From the moment they're boys, they're told toughen up, stop crying, be a man. So by the time a man becomes an adult, he doesn't know how to share his inner world. He's been taught to bottle, bury, and battle everything alone. But every man reaches a point where the silence becomes too heavy. And when he finally opens up, especially to the woman he trusts, it takes courage, deep courage. Sometimes, it's subtle admitting he's overwhelmed. Other times, it's raw sharing wounds from childhood that still haven't closed. But in that moment, he's not asking to be rescued. He's asking to be received. He's not looking for a solution. He's looking for presence, understanding, and peace. Sadly, too often that moment becomes a trap. He opens up, and later, she uses that confession as a weapon in an argument. She mocks his fears. She turns his truth into evidence against him. She twists his pain into weakness. And after enough of those betrayals, he stops speaking. He stops trying. He learns that silence is safer than truth, that it's better to withdraw than to risk being ridiculed. But here's what every man needs to know. Emotional safety is not a luxury. It is not some bonus feature in a relationship. It's the foundation. It's the soil where trust grows, where love deepens, where leadership thrives. Without emotional safety, trust withers. And without trust, love becomes shallow, surface level, performative, exhausting. When a man feels emotionally unsafe with a woman, he begins to emotionally retreat. He talks less, feels less, shares less. His presence becomes more about routine than intimacy. His touch lacks depth. His words lose weight. He may still be there in body, but not in soul. The relationship becomes hollow, a ghost of what it could have been, all because the one place that was supposed to feel like home turned into a war zone. But let's go deeper. Emotional safety isn't just about how she reacts when you cry or confess. It's about her overall emotional maturity. Can she sit with your discomfort without trying to fix or control it? Can she listen without interrupting to make it about her? Can she hold your fear without panicking, judging, or fleeing? True emotional maturity in a woman shows in how she handles your truth. Not when it's easy, but when it's messy, complicated, inconvenient. If she lacks patience, empathy, or self-awareness, she is not ready for the man you are becoming. No matter how much she says she loves you, because love without emotional maturity turns into emotional manipulation. She'll claim to care, but the moment you reveal something sacred, she'll use it to shift power, and you'll find yourself shrinking, second-guessing, censoring just to stay connected. But a woman who truly values you, she handles your heart like it's sacred. She knows your vulnerability is a gift, not a liability. When you open up, she leans in, not with fear or control, but with softness, presence, curiosity. She doesn't try to fix you. She doesn't try to analyze you. She just stands beside you, holds space, and lets you be human. And that is power. But let's not sugarcoat it. If she cannot offer you emotional safety, if your truth constantly backfires, if your feelings are always used against you, then it doesn't matter how long you've known her, how beautiful she is, or how badly you want it to work. Leave, because staying in a relationship where your soul has to hide to survive is the slow death of your authenticity. And once you lose your authenticity, you lose your edge. You lose your creativity, your confidence, your clarity, your leadership. Too many men stay, not because it's love, but because they're more afraid of being alone than being emotionally drained. But I'll say this as clear as possible. Being alone with your peace is a far greater life than being with someone who makes your soul feel crowded and unseen. Emotional safety is not negotiable. It is not optional. It is essential. And let me tell the men who are still hoping they can teach her how to be safe. You can't. You cannot teach someone to value emotional safety. Either she does or she doesn't. If she mocks healing, dismisses therapy, always makes your pain about her, she's not ready for the kind of man you are becoming. She's only ready for the version of you that keeps everything buried. The version of you that stays small so she can feel safe. The version that bleeds in silence. But you owe yourself more than that. So ask yourself, can I breathe around her? Can I speak my truth without flinching? Do I feel seen? Or just tolerated? Do I share? Or do I shrink? Because a woman who cannot offer you emotional safety will drain you more than she will ever love you. And no man can become his highest self in an environment that suffocates his soul. If you have to hide your heart to keep her, she was never yours to begin with. Choose peace. Choose presence. Choose yourself. Loyalty is a word people praise in public and misunderstand in private. A concept boiled down to "don't cheat," when its real reach is far wider, deeper, harder. True loyalty lives in the shadows where cameras are off. Friends aren't listening, and you are unavailable to witness her choices. It whispers through how she speaks your name when you're absent, how she carries herself when temptation strolls by, how she curates her digital life when you're not scrolling beside her. If a woman is genuinely loyal, her daily orbit aligns with your best interest, whether you're in the room or halfway across the world. Her jokes, her replies, her glances, of her laughter, they all bend toward that inner vow. We are a team, even when he cannot see me. When that vow erodes, the foundation beneath the relationship begins to splinter. Trust, once solid, mutates into a silent negotiation of doubt. Men often stay inside that hairline fracture, not because they are blind, but because they are afraid to name the crack. They watch energy that used to pour toward them spill across comment threads, late-night texts with just a friend, or a new habit of emotional distance that wasn't there last season. Because she hasn't crossed the physical line, they tell themselves everything is fine. She's simply stressed. She's still coming home. Isn't she? But the absence of betrayal is not the presence of loyalty, and a man can feel that difference in his bones. Real loyalty is tested precisely in the moments it would be easy for her to chase outside validation, and she chooses not to. It is revealed when someone mocks your dream and she steps in to guard it. When rumors swirl and she cuts them off at the root. When hard times hit and she anchors instead of drifts. Most of all, it is revealed through consistency, loyalty on the rainy days, on the dull days, on the angry days. Not loyalty on her terms, not loyalty only when the sun is shining, but a rugged commitment to the us, even when feeling is fragile and patience thin. One of the deepest psychological hungers men carry into love is certainty. Not certainty of circumstances, life is chaos, but certainty of allegiance. A man needs to know his partner has his back while his own back is turned. He needs to trust that his home is more than four walls. It is an emotional sanctuary. Strip that certainty away, and you steal the oxygen from his masculine fire. He finds himself decoding emojis, rereading comments, tracking tone shifts, second-guessing sincere moments. And when a man is pushed into detective mode, his peace is already compromised, his creative edge already dulled. A man without peace becomes a version of himself he no longer recognizes, distracted, irritable, dimmer than the man he was designed to be. This is where many women fail to grasp what loyalty means to a masculine psyche. It does not demand perfection or blind submission. It simply asks that her decisions line up with the long game, not fleeting impulses. A loyal woman treats the relationship like a sacred bond, not a provisional contract. She does not flirt with other men to feel desirable. She does not compare you to her ex. She does not turn harmless brunch conversations into subtle smear campaigns against you. Her loyalty is stitched into the mundane rituals, how she answers DMs, how she speaks of you to coworkers, how she navigates conflict when you're not around to defend yourself. Now let's zoom even tighter. Emotional loyalty. A woman may never cross a hotel hallway, yet if her heart, her attention, her excitement are invested in another man, that is, betrayal performed in slow motion. Emotional disloyalty leaves the same bruises as physical infidelity, confusion, insecurity, distance, except it hides behind your overthinking, and he's just like my brother. A man with functioning intuition notices when the emotional channel is no longer exclusive, and if you find yourself competing for her heart, understand you are already trailing by miles. In its purest form, loyalty creates safe ground for a man to expand. Knowing his woman is loyal in spirit as well as speech unleashes a fresh tier of confidence. No longer distracted by insecurity, he can lead with clear sight, build with bold risk, focus without leaking energy into suspicion. It benefits the relationship, but more than that, it elevates the man. Remove that loyalty, and you invite silent chaos, restlessness, distraction, erosion. Not because the man is weak, but because the soil he is trying to cultivate is filled with hidden rot. Keep pouring into someone who fails to hold you with loyalty and care, and you will run dry. So let this be clear and loving. If a woman cannot give loyalty, not just in promise but in pattern, walk away. What you tolerate tonight becomes the ceiling of your peace tomorrow. You deserve a partner who never makes you question where you stand, who loves quietly when crowds are absent, who keeps choosing you when choosing you is complicated. Remember, a woman's loyalty can expire, and so should your commitment, if it does. For a man who stays loyal to a woman, loyal to everyone else, will eventually lose loyalty to himself. Loyalty also shows itself in seemingly trivial crossroads. The follow button she refuses to give an old flame. The invitation she declines because the setting disrespects your union. The subtle way she turns her body toward you instead of leaving her options half open to the room. These micro choices announce macro allegiance. They are quiet but cumulative, and they speak loud when you are absent. Stoic teaching reminds every man that what lies outside his control must never master his tranquility. Yet deciding whether to stay or leave a disloyal partner stands fully inside that circle of control. It is the exercise of proheresis, deliberate choice. You cannot command another heart, but you can enforce the standards around yours. When loyalty fades, your reaction defines your character. Do you cling to a hollow image because yesterday felt safe, or do you honor yourself by walking forward? Even if forward is lonely, stand firm on that threshold. Remember, silence about disloyalty becomes consent to quiet erosion. Let loyalty be the gate through which love must pass. Close that gate when it rusts not in rage, but in self-respect. Only then will your life remain a fortress, not a revolving door for wandering hearts. One of the most dangerous imbalances in modern relationships isn't loud or obvious, it's subtle. It's the quiet mismatch between a man who's constantly growing and a woman who's committed to staying exactly the same. At first, it doesn't look like a problem. In fact, it often feels like comfort. There's routine, there's history, there's shared laughter and familiar habits. It feels safe. But time reveals what comfort hides. You begin to think more deeply. You start pursuing bigger visions. Your goals expand. Your self-awareness sharpens. You're not the same man you used to be. And slowly, you realize she still is. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, she's standing still. And when you try to bring her with you, she resists. Not because she hates you, but because growth requires confrontation, and not everyone is ready to face the mirror. Here's the hard truth. If she won't grow with you, she will eventually grow against you. because every step you take forward makes her feel more left behind. Every new version of yourself reminds her of the version she refuses to become. You stretch into purpose. She pulls into fear. You move forward. She clings to what was, not because you're abandoning her, but because she refused to move with you. And when that happens, intimacy turns into insecurity. Support turns into silent sabotage. Love starts to feel like competition. You were built as a man to build, to create, to expand, not just for yourself, but for those you care about. Your instinct isn't just to win, it's to elevate those beside you. You want her to grow with you. You want her to feel the victory too. But if her identity is wrapped in comfort, in sameness, in staying small, then your growth becomes a threat instead of a blessing. And no man should ever be asked to shrink in order to maintain peace. This is where the emotional war begins. Not with shouting, but with distance, not with betrayal, but with quiet disconnection. Your success no longer excites her, it unsettles her. Not because you're worse, but because she's anchored to a version of you that no longer exists. She fell in love with who you were, but she refuses to meet who you are becoming. She holds on to the old version of you, the one that didn't challenge her, didn't stretch her, didn't reflect her own lack of growth. And that man no longer lives in you. Now you find yourself torn between loyalty to the woman you once cherished and loyalty to the man you are becoming. But listen closely. You cannot rise while dragging someone who chooses to remain still. You cannot ascend while constantly stopping to explain yourself. You cannot reach your next level while being guilt-tripped for evolving. Growth is not betrayal. Transformation is not disloyalty. And love should never require you to stay stagnant, to feel accepted. The woman who understands love truly understands it, will never ask you to play small for her comfort. She will rise too. She will take accountability for her healing. She will see your growth as an invitation, not a threat. She will challenge you not out of resistance, but from alignment. She'll inspire you not through force, but through example. She'll grow not because you push her, but because she chooses to stand beside a man who grows. That kind of relationship is rare, but it's real. And it's worth holding out for, because without growth, love becomes a loop. Same fights, same issues, same disappointments wrapped in new days. Eventually, that routine rots. And what was once passion becomes obligation. Chemistry can open the door, but only growth keeps you inside. If she refuses to evolve, you're only delaying the breakup. The drift has already begun, and if you ignore it, you'll end up resenting the very woman you once would have done anything for. Here's the bottom line. Love that doesn't evolve dies, and a woman who won't rise with you will slowly begin to resent you. That resentment won't always be loud. Sometimes it's in her silence. Sometimes it's in the way she disengages. Sometimes it's in the passive-aggressive tone, the lack of support, the withdrawal. And suddenly, what was once a partnership feels like a cage. You question yourself. Am I growing too fast? Am I leaving her behind? No. She left herself behind. She chose not to come with you. If she won't rise with you, don't fall to meet her where she stopped. Your purpose is not up for debate. Your evolution is not a threat. And any love that demands your stagnation is not love at all. It's fear in disguise. You're not here to be a smaller man in order to be loved. You're here to become everything you're meant to be. And the right woman will not only support that, she'll rise with it. So here's the final truth. Brother, You weren't put on this earth to beg for love, prove your worth, or stay small to keep someone comfortable. You were built to lead, to grow, to rise. And any relationship that demands you sacrifice your peace, your voice, or your vision, that's not love. That's a slow death wearing a smile. A woman who truly values you won't fight your evolution. She'll walk beside it. She'll honor your growth, not punish it. And if she can't, then it's not your job to stay. It's your responsibility to leave. Now I want to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me this. What does real loyalty look like to you? Your voice matters, and another man out there might need your words more than you know. If this message hit home, don't just sit with it, share it. Like this video, subscribe to the Stoic Spirit, and turn on notifications so you never miss the truths we uncover here. Because real growth begins when men stop settling and start remembering who they are.